Johan in third. Marcel Cinczyk, of course, they're in fourth position. Sebastian Job in fifth, and then Max Benneker in sixth. Luke Bennett and Kevin Ellis Jr. in seventh and eighth. Thomas Tattler, Yuri Toman, and of course Josh Rogers and Kaiki Oliveira rounding out the grid. About to head though into the race, of course, rolling starts one more. Do you think this ends now, or do you think we need one more?
I think we're going to need one more. Job has got too many rivals ahead of him here to surely go through and win here at Jeddah. I do think he's not going to be the only one in finalist mode at the end of this race. I think it's all going to come down to race 9, where the others are trying to prevent Job from winning, who will, of course, win on points if it goes to that situation.
Indeed, well, safety cars peeled off. Darren McCormack is in control. If Sebastian Job wins, it is all over. Victories and good point scores for other means that we could have quite a few in finalist mode heading into the final race. Let's see what happens as we race our way down to the first corner. Darren McCormack leads. There's already contact though as we head down to the first turn. It's not built to anything bigger as Kevin Siggy tries to muscle his way past for the race lead. Darren McCormack will hold firm around the outside of turn 2. Inside through the kink at 3 and the inside for T4 as we get heavily onto the brakes. McCormack will continue to lead from Siggy, from Cinczyk, from Hart, from Benneker. Sebastian Job's got dragged to 6th.
And look at Sebastian Job there. He was just going down the inside of Max Benneker unsuccessfully, I think, although he might still be alongside. No, I don't think so. He remains 6th place. Smart from Siggy, though. He knows that only 10th place is fine for him, and so he doesn't need to get involved in a battle for the race win that could see him off the road. Indeed.
Now, of course, remember, Sebastian Job must win if he is to become the Esports World Cup champion. If he doesn't in the next race, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but he wouldn't technically need to win that race. He just needs someone that's not in finalist mode to win it. But yeah, again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Darren McCormack, though, continues to lead as we head our way around the back end of the circuit. Also remember, a BMW has won every single race in the main part of the Drivers' Championship today. The only car that has not won today that's not a BMW is an Audi, and that was in the last chance qualifier. Everything else has been BMW.
Yeah, it's been very, very difficult to win if you're not in this BMW. It's been strong today, but you could argue that the strongest drivers and the best drivers have been driving it here today as well. That argument will rumble on surely as Sebastian Job looks at the back of Max Benneker here. In a situation is Max where he could be in finalist mode, and these two could be going toe-to-toe for a title here in the next race at the Hockenheim Ring. That's what it's going to take for the Mouse driver. Sebastian Job wants it done now. He looks up the inside, he doesn't get there.
That's a big look there as they went the way. Obviously, you've got Josh Rogers and Thomas Tattler here. Josh Rogers, to get into finalist mode, needs a victory. I don't think that's going to happen. Same with Luke Bennett, who, of course, is even further behind. So the chances of those two working their way into finalist mode seems very unlikely. But they are battling for points. They are battling for the positions they are in the championship, which is money. Big look down the inside there from Josh Rogers as he batters the side of Thomas Tattler. Look to the inside coming in from Luke Bennett as he sneaks his way past. So Luke Bennett moves up to 8th position, Josh Rogers down to 9th.
This is all single file again into the first sector. You've got to, really, before you go through here. There's no point battling side by side, especially if you're this far back. There is Luke Bennett, long way back, and as you say, needs to win here. That's not Luke Bennett, is it? That's Kevin Siggy, excuse me, just ahead of Marcel Cinczyk. Then it's Johan Hart, who's having his best race of the day so far. Max Benneker in 5th, followed by Sebastian Job, still in 6th place. Only 8 laps in this race, of course, and if Job wants to make his way through, he's going to have to start doing it quickly, otherwise he will run out of laps.
Yeah, certainly so. Like you say, there's not long left to go realistically in this race, or even in this tournament, indeed, as Sebastian Job will be closed his way in. The thing is, 1.6 seconds, whilst it is possible to overtake at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, it has proved quite difficult as we ride on board with Marcel Cinczyk. Top of your screen, you can see the look out from Cinczyk's point of view as you can stare at him, see the emotion. Promise you, you're not going to get much emotion from Marcel Cinczyk. His emotion very rarely changes.
Although he did show a bit more emotion when he won in Munich.
A little bit. I think he was overshadowed by Mehdi a little bit, as we were all terrified by.
Mehdi's so enthusiastic, win or lose. So, yeah, he will certainly be one to watch whatever happens at the end of the day. Through the final sector they go now. That's Luke Bennett very close to the back of Thomas Tattler here for 7th position. Tattler is trying to catch up with Johan Hart, really. They're battling for that 11th and 12th in the championship, and at the moment Hart is really winning that battle as the race currently runs. Out of the final corner they go. Look at Darren McCormack just weaving around.
Almost tried dumping Kevin Siggy in the wall. there a little bit. It was just how it ended up as here comes Luke Bennett to the inside of Timus Tatler, the slipstream being given by Sebastian Jobe. Overtake for the race lead though. Kevin Siggy's going for it. Darren McCormack might have to settle for second position, but I think he might be able to hang on side by side there as Timus Tatler goes to the high side on the outside of T2, and Luke Bennett has worked his way past. It's Red Line running in 6th and 7th position in this race. It is still Darren McCormack for Williams leading, from Siggy, from Chinchik, from Hart, who's doing a great job by the way, then Benneker and Sebastian Jobe. At the moment, Siggy and Benneker will both enter finalist mode for the final race, but we will need that final race.
We will be going to 9 for the second time. The 9th race in an afternoon will be used, and so this is going to go right down to the wire, the way things are going at the moment. Anyway, Sebastian Jobe is not doing enough to win this one. It's so weird, isn't it? Go 4 in a row without trouble in some occasions. The Hockenheimring race especially was dominant, lights to flag victory for Sebastian Jobe, but in the end, when he was in finalist mode, couldn't quite do it while he was on his own. I don't think we've ever seen anybody win from finalist mode on his own, or was Josh on his own by the end of Sweden? I can't remember.
No, Josh, no, no. We've had 5 drivers, 3 drivers, 3 drivers.
Okay.
Is how it's been so far. It's 5 drivers obviously in the spring season. It was 3 drivers in Gamers A, and it was 3 drivers back in Jönköping as well. So it would be the end time. But he's been in finalist mode now for a long time by himself. It's crazy, isn't it?
I wouldn't say he's had chances in the races though to actually win. I mean, I know he finished pretty well in the last couple at Monza with teamwork. However, I wouldn't say he's really, messed up any opportunities.
Well, I think it goes back to one of the things that Claire was saying a little bit earlier. I don't know if she said it on broadcast when she was just talking to us, but she was saying that when you go into finalist mode, you become a target.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing, is that as soon as you're in finalist mode, like everyone else kind of pushes that extra little bit to make sure that you don't win. It's not necessarily about winning yourself. It's not necessarily about making sure that someone else has win. It's just making sure that you're the only one in finalist mode that you don't win. And that becomes harder when there's more people in finalist mode, of course.
Here's Johan Ott and Max Benneker side by side. 4th place, and Ott now goes backwards. The Frenchman has done well to get himself in this position. It was a great qualifying lap, but Max Benneker has worked his way through. Sebastian Jobe couldn't find his way through as a result, though. 5 laps to go, including the one we're at the moment, and the gap between Jobe and the race win is getting ever larger.
Yeah, indeed. Look at how close, though, Sebastian Jobe is to the rear end of Johan Ott as we work our way through, but the chance of that victory, like you say, slipping through his fingers. He's certainly not going to get one. Look at it here as we head our way through. It's all coming down to qualifying, where he was so meticulous in qualifying earlier on in the day. When he took those 4 victories, they were all 4 from pole position, if I'm not mistaken. And the thing is, if you want to win that race, if you want to win this one, if you want to win at the Hockenheimring, it must be from pole position. That's how you take control yourself. And Sebastian Jobe's not really giving himself. That's the thing. He's just not helped himself with the qualifying being a little bit mid-tier. In
these last 3 races, yes, but don't forget the last time we were at the Hockenheimring, I'll bring it up again. He was absolutely supreme, and so if he does that again, I don't think any of the others really stand a chance. Darren McCormack just breaks the slipstream on the back straight there for Kevin Siggy, as Jobe was looking up the inside there. There is the battle for the race lead. I don't really know why Siggy's even challenging McCormack at the moment, to be honest with you. If I was him, I'd be staying behind and just banking finalist mode, and then thinking about that when we get to it in a few moments' time.
Yeah, what's the points gap between, because this is the thing, is now we might need to talk about points gap, and the points gap between Siggy and Jobe is probably, it's not going to come down enough. So basically what we're saying that for is that if it comes to the finalist, the final race in race 9, it can come down to points in that race. Obviously, those that are in finalist mode, if they win, they still win the whole competition. But if they still finish in, like, say, 2nd and 3rd and 4th and stuff, then it comes down to the points in the championship, at which point Siggy's not actually close enough to do it on points, at which point if someone else wins that's not in finalist mode, basically Sebastian Jobe wins. I've made an absolute hash brown of explaining that, and that's okay. It's fine. Basically, I'll leave that to you and George, actually.
You're gonna have to, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I'm out for the next race. No one wants me. I'm not loved.
Just
no.
What?
No, whoever made the schedule doesn't want me on the final race. It's fine. I did make the schedule.
You watch it in the arena. I bet it would be quite good in there. That's what I would do anyway if I were you. Oh dear, that was off the road for Kevin Siggy. Speaking of, he just decided to go a bit wide at turn 10. I'm sure he didn't mean to, but he did run that little bit wide. after taking that little bit too much speed. Johan down to 7th now, and that has allowed both of the Team Redline drivers to move on forward. Luke Bennett needs to win here, though, and so does Sebastian Job. It doesn't look like Redline are going to be taking a victory with either of those drivers.
No, indeed not. As we head our way through, it's just not looked the dominant force that we were expecting. It does seem as though there might be a non-BMW victory in this race. And to be fair, I think do you know what? I think it's fairly fitting if Dara McCormack is to win, because he's been so close a couple of times today. I won't take the commentator's curse, because I know I picked him, but I don't accept that. Luke Bennett's right on the rear end of Sebastian Job. I wonder if he will go for a move here, because he could kind of maybe do with an extra couple of points.
Exactly, yeah.
And
yes.
Sebastian Job's not going to win this race, so it almost makes more sense for Luke Bennett to be ahead of Sebastian Job.
Yeah, because at the moment, Bennett would be ahead of Josh Rogers, and that would further put him ahead of Josh Rogers as things stand. So that would make a lot of sense, I think. Let's see if they actually do that as we ride aboard with Dara McCormack, aggressively weaving from side to side here to try and break the slipstream. Don't think he should be too worried about that, really. Kevin Shiggy is fairly far back as things stand. Final half of the race very much on now. Just 3 laps to go, and status quo for the time being. Sebastian Job just ahead of Luke Bennett. That's by far the closest gap on the circuit. You can see them there just in the distance. Absolutely nose to tail, but they didn't decide to do what you recommended on that time.
Yeah, indeed. Well, let's go through the order then, as we're only a couple of laps, well, 3 laps away rather from coming across the line to crown a victor, but not a champion. McCormack from Siggy, from Chinchik, from Beneke, from Joe, Bennett, Hart, then Tattler, Rogers in 9th position, Kaiki Oliveira in 10th, then Kevin Ellis Jr. and Yuri Toman at the rear of the field. It's not been a good day. Do you know what, Yuri, without looking, what do you think Yuri Toman's highest finish is today?
Probably like 8th.
7th.
Okay. Oh,
and that was in the last race.
Wow. That's it's not been a good day for him, has it? I mean,
No.
He's nearly being caught by Kaiki Oliveira here. He needs to get a move on.
Yeah.
That gap is only 8 points. He's losing 2 of those right now. So there's there's little fights everywhere, really, isn't there? I know we're all talking about finalist mode and whatever, but there's a lot of money on the line here, especially incrementally in between positions. And so some of those really can change in these last 2 races.
For a driver who has such a good top 6 percentage, it is crazy to think that of all of the races that we've done today, that he has been outside of the top 10 in 3 of them, and has not been in the top 6 in any of them. It's honestly, it's baffling. It just maybe he just hasn't settled with the rig. He does have an odd seating position inside the rig anyway. He sort of sits a little bit closer when he hasn't been able to get comfortable, which can be a big deal in, especially when you're at these kind of speeds. Thomas Tattler on the rear end then of Johan Hart, who is defending like his life depends on it for 7th position at the moment. And to be fair, you know, he needs to defend from Thomas Tattler, because a pair of those are fighting over those points-paying positions and the extra money. I think it's like $500, isn't it, between 11th and 12th in the standings?
11th and 12th it is, yeah, and 10th and 11th. So that's what they're fighting for there. Johan Hart trying to defend from Thomas Tattler, and that was pretty aggressive, but he has made it work in the end. Josh Rogers trying to take advantage and can't quite. Johan, unfortunately, is right back where he has had his best finish of the day so far, both at Daytona and one of the Monza rounds.
I don't know about you, but I'd push someone off the road for $500. So we'll see what Johan Hart and Thomas Tattler end up squabbling over as they head their way through turn 10, up and over the curb, and the race down towards 13. You see the track limits as they depart turn 10. They can really use quite a lot of it as they go through like the 11-12 sequence. Back up to Dara McCormack, race leader, half a second clear, 1 lap left to go. If you're Siggy, do you at least have a look? Do you at least go for something, or do you just sit there and go, look, I'm going to be in finalist mode? That's the important bit ticked off.
And also, he's going to be 8 points ahead of Max Beneke. So even if he doesn't win, he's got that little bit of a gap over second place, for second place, sorry. So that's looking good for him at the moment too. I would stay where he is. Of course, a win here would give him those extra 5 points, but I just don't think the risk versus reward is worth it. Not only because he could drop right to the back and not be in finalist mode again, but second of all, you might drop behind Max Beneke. You might lose out on second place in the standings if you go for a move for the win.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, like you say, sometimes risk versus reward, and what is the reward for it? Like you say, realistically, in this occasion, it's just not really that much. If you're Kevin Siggy, you sit there, and I mean, look, He's a smart driver. He's got a lot going on in his head. Maybe some of that's leaked out a little bit after the headbutt, but you know, we'll have to wait and see on that one. At the moment, he's sat comfortably in that second position with no threat from behind. The gap, though, is 0.3 of a second as we begin the final lap here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Obviously, we're going to see this circuit quite a lot over the coming 3 days. It's fantastic to have it here in Rennsport. It's weird to see GT3s going around it, but you know what? I don't hate it.
No, absolutely.
I was a little concerned when I first heard about it in GT World Challenge, but I'm quite liking it now.
It might be all right. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how a longer race goes around there. But that's not what we're going to see here, because we're all about sprint racing, of course. But it certainly will be a new challenge at a spectacular circuit, modelled so well here in Rennsport, of course. As we look through the first sector for the final time. It's been status quo here for a while now in the latter portion of this race. We're already, really, I'm sure the drivers aren't, but we're already looking forward, getting excited about the final race before the penultimate one has even finished.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, this is the thing, is I don't think too much is going to change here in the penultimate race, and if you're bored about that, don't worry. Just, if you're going to step aside and have a little breather before our final race, I'd recommend doing so now. Go and get yourself some snacks, get yourself ready on the sofa, because I guarantee this final race is going to be an absolute barnstormer. We're a three-way fight for victory between Sebastian Job, Kevin Siggy and Max Benneker, because Siggy and Benneker will both enter finalist mode. They will be on their absolute limit at the Hockenheim ring, which is a struggle to overtake at the best of times, don't get me wrong, but I guarantee the racing around there is going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is. And whenever there's a final on the line like this, or a title on the line like this, it's always going to be absolutely barnstorming. So can't wait for it. And this race has certainly played an important role in setting up the stall for that as well. Darren McCormack looks like he's going to take the victory here, his third victory of 2024, avenging those second places that he's had already, and that other podium as well where he finished in third at Daytona.
Yeah, indeed. Out through the final corner is going to come then. It has been a long time since we've seen him take victory. Of course, it was right at the start of the championship here in 2024. But finally, Darren McCormack is back to the top step of the podium. Even saw the word out of his mouth then. Finally. That is what matters. His third victory this season, you're absolutely right. He's had a lot of podiums between now and then, that's for sure. But finally, it is the top step. A brilliant drive and a brilliant victory. But importantly, are in finalist mode.